Good morning. It's going to be insanely hot today. There are actual heat advisories out for today. It's going to be uh, it's going to be very sweltering. So I'm in my office. I've got right now the backyard is kind of cool. I got the window all the way up. Got the fan going up above us. We still don't have our car back. It's being uh, sealed up so that it can won't leak so much when it rains. And so constant yesterday, of course, was parking lot Tuesday. We missed it completely. But Constance went out on her bike. She is shopping at Trader Joe's, which is, as the crow flies, not all that far, but uh, with all the groceries and stuff in her basket and all the hills and stuff here, so she more or less has to walk her bike back. But she's pioneer woman, and thank God she's pioneer woman because I would not uh, I would not be alive. Okay. Anyway, bless her heart. So she's not uh, going to join us this morning unless she comes back really fast. Uh, which reminds me, speaking of not surviving with others, uh, you know, the famous Beatles song, "With a Little Help from My Friends." Well, that could be the story of my life. Could be that I only get by with a little help from my friends. Uh, I wrote something, and I'm going to share it with you because it concerns one of my best friends in the whole world, Mr. Rodney Orpheus, uh, the rock star leader, I guess, of Cassandra Complex, the popular uh, band. But he's a prolific writer and a Thelemite and a dear friend for many years, uh, friend of the family. And but I'm going to read you something first, and then I'll ramble on about that. There are moments in my life when I don't know what I am, where I am, or who I am, unless I can see myself momentarily reflected in the souls of others around me. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with my birthday. July 11th makes me a Queen of Cups in the tarot court card way of looking at things. And the Queen of Cups is water of water. And the Queen of Cups easily reflects when people look at a Queen of Cups, it's like looking in a mirror. They water to water. Okay, they see themselves, and very often, because people like to think they like themselves, they look at a Queen of Cups and say, "Oh, he or she's just like me. She must be wonderful and a genius." But anyway, magic is sort of a lonely art, or it can be. But to tell you the truth, uh, when I first got into magic, especially Crowley's magic and theory and practice, I see all these exquisite, complex rituals and things, and it seems like for the most part they're done all by yourself, and it's just very very confusing, overwhelmingly confusing. Uh, And later on, when I joined the OTO, uh, the OTO type initiations are dramatic rituals, like the Masons. It's a dramatic ritual. It takes a group. It takes a group to do it, and you feel initially more comfortable working with others, uh, and together you sort of learn what it is. Uh, all of these, or not all, but the key, most important rituals of Aleister Crowley's like Theory and Practice, or the big book 4, aren't group rituals. They're they're solo rituals. Not only that, but when you read them deeply, they're really meant to be going on in your head. Okay. But anyway, wouldn't it be nice if those rituals got themselves uh, tinkered with in such a way as to actually be performed, be celebrated by a group of people? And our good friend Rodney Orpheus, in this magnificently kind of huge book, because it's got tons of wonderful illustrations and diagrams and such. It's called The Grimoire of Aleister Crowley, Group Magical Rituals. And he was, oh, and it's by the good folks at Weiser. If you don't have this and you're interested in thelemic rituals, but uh, done with a few friends, okay, this is a magnificent book, okay. And of course, I have a foreword in it. And as a matter of fact, uh, I was proud enough of the foreword. I don't know if Rodney was. I hope he was. But that I included it among other introductory essays that I've written over the years in my Allow Me to Introduce. And it's what I'm going to share with you right now. See, it's the Grimoire of Thelema. And it was 2011 when I wrote this for Rodney. It seems like only yesterday. Okay. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Magic is a lonely art. It must ever be so, because ultimately we are each a universe unto ourself. The whatever it is we are was alone when it incarnated into this corporeal dimension, and it will be alone at the timeless instant we shuffle off this mortal coil. But as we labor through the measured ticks of space-time on this side of the pylons of birth and death, or whatever it is we are, is surrounded and assailed by a vast assortment of other what it is we are's. Other monads of consciousness, who are also universes unto themselves. And some of these other universes are fellow magicians. Magic is also, first and foremost, a self-transformational art. It may be the magician's intent to effect changes in his or her life circumstances. As an example, I want the girl next door to fall in love with me. But the success of any magical operation designed to bring about that romantic outcome will most assuredly be in large part the consequence of the magician becoming transformed into the type of person the girl next door falls in love with. I'm sure there are knowledgeable and skilled magicians who disagree with my sweeping assertion that the only thing I can change with magic is myself. It is, of course, a statement that's impossible for me to prove or disprove. Frankly, I'm not inclined or motivated to try. I'm not trying to establish or defend magical doctrine. I simply know that for me, at this season of my life, at this moment in my magical career, the things that needs to change the most in my world is me. I have to confess the prospect of magic being a form of consciously directed self-evolution was not what initially attracted me to the art so many years ago. Naturally, I told myself I was doing all of this to gain enlightenment, to achieve spiritual liberation. But in truth, it was the allure of wearing a black hooded robe and strutting around in darkened temples, brandishing my wand and sword against terrible demons, cowering in terrified obedience before my radiant adeptship. Man, would I look cool doing that. No matter how noble or altruistic my conscious pretenses were, Lon Milo DuQuette, the post-adolescent magician, inwardly desired power. Power to master the cruel and chaotic circumstances of my life. Power to right the wrongs I was witnessing in the world around me. Power to set things straight and in harmony with my own obviously already enlightened vision of personal, moral, and social, political, and spiritual absolutes. As comically deluded as I might have been, there is, of course, nothing fundamentally wrong with such youthful and militant idealism. Nothing wrong with wanting to change the world for the better and setting to work to do just that. I guess the biggest flaw in my aspirational game plan was that I was overlooking the fact that in order for me to use magic to begin making these changes, I would first have to consciously evolve into a real magician. As luck would have it, I would, early on in my career, come under the influence and tutelage of magicians who would each, in their unique way, either by positive example or negative example, you can learn a whole lot about that. Either by positive example, negative example, or admonition, make sure I never forgot this fundamental fact of life. Foremost among my senior mentors were Phyllis Seckler, Soror Merrill, Helen Parsons Smith, Soror Grimaud, and Francis Israel Regarde. All of these dear people now deceased. Oh, I forgot. Soror Merrill, and then Grady L. McMurtry, Hymenaeus Alpha 777. Okay, it's those four. McMurtry and Regarde trained directly under Aleister Crowley. And Seckler had been the student of Jane Wolfe, a student of Crowley's and a one-time resident of the famous Abbey of Thelema in Sicily. Parsons Smith was the double widow of Jack Parsons, the famed magician and rocket scientist, and Wilfred P. Smith, both at different times masters of Agape Lodge, OTO in Southern California. These colorful people kept me from being entirely alone in the early years of my quest. Because of their efforts, and more often despite their efforts, I was, in the mid-1970s, baptized in the magic fire of Thelema. With their encouragement, cynicism, and guidance, I formally took up the disciplines of Crowley's magical orders, the AA, and the Ordo Templi Orientis. My AA work began under the guidance of Seckler and was, or should have been, an entirely private affair. My OTO experience, on the other hand, required me to work in a more public manner and with other magicians. In fact, an important aspect of the OTO's magical curriculum is the development of the individual magician's ability to work in concert and survive within the complexities of a uniquely organized society populated by castes of militantly independent magicians, some of whom are as intractable, imperfect, and flawed as myself. It's a very important part of the magical training of an OTO initiate. As you might expect, Crowley didn't make the OTO ordeal an easy one. In fact, I've known more promising magicians to wreck on the shoals of the order's societal challenges than for any other reason. More often than not, I usually come to see the wisdom and genius of Crowley's magical vetting processes. Whether or not they have established a formal AA relationship, a great many OTO initiates and others who consider themselves Thelemic magicians embark on the study and practice of the various rituals Crowley developed for the edification of AA magicians. The systematic practice of these rituals vis-a-vis the magician's personal initiatory climb up the tree of life of consciousness is generally viewed in Thelemic circles as, quote, doing the work. Are you doing the work? Hey, laddie, are you doing the work? I'm imitating no one that I know. Sorry. It just sounds good. The work is certainly there to do. The rituals and a few commentaries are published in a plethora of sources. One of the finest collections is found in the magnificently ponderous Liber ABA, Book 4. But for many years, most of us relied almost exclusively on those ritual libers that appeared in the appendices of Magick and Theory and Practice. Armed with little more than these libers and the roadmap of the Tree of Life, 4 generations of magicians have set out alone on the Thelemic path of return, dissecting, cross-referencing, and trying to make sense of the bewildering subtleties of Crowley's evolving thought, and then attempting to transfer that understanding to the temple environment in coherent ceremonies that can be performed by and for the benefit of one person. To say it's a challenge to the lone magician would be a beastly understatement. Yes, magic is a lonely art. But it doesn't always need to, but does it always need to be that lonely? I don't believe so, and neither does my brother Rodney Orpheus. People, even magicians, sometimes need other people. There are moments in my life when I don't know what I am, where I am, or who I am unless I can see myself momentarily reflected in the souls of others around me. The term Thelemic group ritual may sound like an oxymoron, but it needn't be one. As Brother Orpheus reveals, many of Crowley's most significant rituals started out as group operations. For me, it's profoundly helpful, even at times necessary, to see the complex dynamics of my own inner magical mechanisms portrayed as different officers in a ritual. I can and, of course, must eventually integrate all these officers into myself. But first, I have to know who they are and what they do and what they mean to me. That is most easily and elegantly done by seeing them operate in a group drama. I took one look at Rodney's group treatments of the ritual of the Mark of the Beast and the invocation of Horus and was thrown back in my chair with stunned admiration. My God, why hasn't somebody done this before? This might sound like a rhetorical question, but in fact, it does indeed have an answer. The reason someone hasn't done this before is because there are presently very few individuals living today who are qualified by education and experience to do so, even fewer with the writing talent and communication skills to bring to life on the printed page. Brother Orpheus is the incarnation of both these aspects of genius. Whether he's expanding upon classic rituals or creating and developing his own thelemic ceremonies, the magician reader can be confident he or she is in good hands. Magic may be a lonely art, but it doesn't mean it must always be alone. We must always be alone on our journey. And it doesn't mean we won't always need friends. Love is the law, love under will. Now that is from my often overlooked book, Allow Me to Introduce. And it also is from the good folks at Wiser. But for you, where did I put it? Here it is. I put it on the floor. It's really heavy. The Grimoire of Aleister Crowley. Group Magic Rituals by the talented and brilliant Rodney Orpheus. I've talked about it before, but today I just wanted to do it some more. Until tomorrow, I'm waiting for Constance. I hope she's okay. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.